Do you consider what you do an art form?
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
And that's why I hate it when people ask me, like, is your food authentic? So, like, you don't ask an artist that, like, because we're creative, like, how can you say that, like, and then you have the nerve to tell me that I don't cook like your mom, like, and that makes me not authentic because it doesn't taste like what your mom makes. So, and then I'm like, yeah, so, I
People actually say that to you.
First of all, who the hell walks into somebody else's restaurant and say, this don't taste like my mama food. Okay, call your mom.
That's actually the first time I've heard that, and that, like, because I'm trying to draw a parallel to my own mom and how she cooks, and I can guarantee you that the majority of things that I ate as a kid, I have not yet tasted that in a restaurant, and I don't expect to. Like, what is your favorite thing to eat?
really depends on my mood. I mean, I don't think I could say this is the one thing that's my favorite. Like, on a gloomy day, it's like, I'm craving that bowl of soup and handmade noodles, or, on a really hot day, I just want papaya salad. So it really depends on the season and the mood and where I'm at. I think it's very, it's very feely.
Like, if you look at all of the menus across your restaurants, is there just one dish, though, that just has always been like, yep, that's my favorite one? Either because you love to make it or you love to eat it.
Or one dish that just always makes it to every menu, no matter what.
The basil wings.
Basil wings.
Yes. We try to keep them different just because the other thing that people compare, like when you have multiple locations, they're like, well, it doesn't taste like lemongrass. And then you're like, well, you just walked into Lat14. Of course it does not. It's, so that's why it's like we purposely have each restaurant be a different concept, be a different name, so that we avoid that remark. Well, it's not like lemongrass. It's not like your mom. Well, my mom is not your mom. When I'm creating something, it's not just like buying a couple bottles of soy sauce, throw it in a wok, toss it, and you're done. It's kind of like, like, why do you cut things in certain sizes or shapes? Why do you layer the flavors? Why do the garlic go in first, and then why it's the oil, and why do you add the sugar last? I'm not an artist in terms of like, professionally, but I'm passionate about art, like, high school art was my favorite class, and that's why my daughter's so creative as a 6-year-old, is like, that's all she wants to do. Because those are the things that we, learn in art class, was the layering of the colors and the shading and the depth and whatnot. And you could use those same words to describe a dish, not only like visually looking at it, but it can look beautiful on a plate, but if the layers and the depth is not there when you taste it and it hits your mouth, you have not succeeded. You just gave me You just threw me some crayons on a plate, but you did not have any emotions. You did not have any feel. You did not have the skills or the craft. Because in order to create a painting, to have that depth, you have to know when to layer it and when to add it and whatnot. Same thing with food. And so when I cook something, it's like I always describe it as a dance party. If your mouth is not dancing, then I did not do my job. Then it's like even the most boring, bland things will have definition, will have flavor, will have its own character. It could just be boiled pork and mustard green, and you think, oh, those are just 2 ingredients. But like if you have done it right, it will have a little party in your mouth in one way or another. So that's kind of like how I feel about food and art.
I want to know what the soundtrack is for the dance party.
Oh my gosh, you ready? Which one do you want to go to?
Is it Britney? Is it hard rock? Is it like what is it? Kind of like that dance party where you don't care if the whole room's watching you, you're still gonna dance, even though it's offbeat or whatnot. And that's how I want my food to taste to people, because food should be memorable. Like, you said that, like food is like an art where it just disappear. Yeah, it disappear, but you should remember it. Good food, you should remember it. Like I will never forget that, bis that was served to me in this tiny little ramekin at Mama's Fish House in Maui. Like that was one of the best thing I've ever ate. Like I can still taste it as I'm just sitting here talking to you. What's the best meal you ever had?
Pepper soup. Like a good pepper soup. And that's funny, as you were talking about, like there's levels to food, because every time it's cooked for me, my friend is always like, so we're at level 1, okay, we got that in, all right, now we gotta go to level 2, and I just be like, sure, whatever, let's add the ball pepper, get the chicken broth, and come on, because I'm ready to eat. Like, pepper soup, and there's different types. There's Sierra Leonean pepper soup, and then there's Nigerian pepper soup, and I'm just like, hey, pepper soup me up. And then there's actually a place, there's like this little, cute little family-owned type of space on 18th and Nicollet. It's a Ghanaian African shop. And so every day, actually, when I flew in, I went and got 2 soups. I got collard greens, 1 chicken, 1 beef, both spicy. And I do what everybody is not supposed to do. I eat it without rice and just hella pepper, like hella African ball pepper. And I go to sleep. And I'm a happy camper, because every time, it just makes my soul happy.
I'm a believer in the power of soup. Pho is what I go to if I'm sick. It used to be matzo ball. I used to go toward matzo ball soup, because I really love, I love it, but in more recent years, I've made the switch over to pho instead. And it's like an elixir. There's something about it that is just magical, where I instantly feel better. It puts me to rest, and there's nothing scientific with it saying, yeah, in 2 days I'm all better, but I always feel better after I have it, definitely when I'm not feeling good. It's funny, because I asked the question about like favorite meal, favorite food, and I love having conversations with people who also are like, I can't tell you what the one thing is. There was this semi-funny movie about 20 years ago called Runaway Bride. It was Julia Roberts. And there is a scene in that movie, there's a whole backstory in the entire film that she doesn't know herself. And it's predicated on the fact that whoever she's engaged to, however he likes his eggs, that's how she likes her eggs. And the idea being, she doesn't know herself. She doesn't understand what kind of eggs she likes. And I can't remember what she ends up liking at the end. Like, it's something like Eggs Benedict or something weird. But
now you make me want to go watch the movie.
I know, but yeah, so there's all these different egg dishes that are served throughout this film. And I have a couple of girlfriends who have they tell me that I'm like Runaway Bride, because, you don't know what, and it comes from a place of, well, you don't know yourself. And it's like, actually, I know myself very well. I like all things. I like trying everything once. Do you remember the worst meal you've ever had?
I try to suppress things. Well, you know what? Because it's a chain. The worst food I've ever had, and I'm sorry if I hurt anybody's feelings, was actually at Olive Garden. And I just was like, I really love spaghetti and meatballs. And so once upon a time, there's a hotel I used to work at downtown, and our executive chef had made I don't know, it was like this meatball, and the meatball, the way it was seasoned, the way the cheese, the way the ricotta, everything, it was perfect. And so I remember me and a few friends, we went to Olive Garden, and it was my first time. And so, mind you, I'm working this job where I get this spaghetti regularly. That is amazing. So I go to Olive Garden, and I get this spaghetti. And I take one bite, and I'm like, y'all can have it back. Y'all can have it. And so the waitress was like, what's wrong? And I said, it tastes like plastic. It tastes like somebody literally just threw it in the microwave, rolled it out real quick, threw it on my plate. And so you can keep it, but you can bring me back some wine.
Well, that's, if you can't have the food, at least have the wine.
At least
they can't screw up the wine, hopefully.
I would hope not.
As our experiences, as we evolve, and people we introduce in our network, and the way we travel, and having that openness, I would never have known Bangladeshi food if I didn't marry my husband, and so, and those are the things where it's now it's one of the probably the best memorable meals that I've eaten is with him and his family. And so does that make me okay, I'm just trying to please this husband that I'm married to, that's what I love now, and it's not, because I feel like it's because food and is part of who we are, and it becomes, it evolves with us, and so, but again, I think it comes back to how open were you? Because you could you could be a 60-year-old or a 70-year-old and still want, that one meal that, your roast beef and your bread or whatever, and that's the only thing you eat, because you've allowed yourself to be that person. You never went over to your neighbors for dinner, you know, or you didn't like, you know, your friend asked you to go out somewhere new and you didn't want to try it. So it's kind of, I feel like it's a collection of everything, and then you get to become that person. And food does kind of reflect who you are, you know, and that's kind of like, it also helps you form your close network as well. You know, like there's certain people that I won't call to go out with me because I know they won't eat the same thing, or they'll be that person at the table that's just like slamming everything that you order. Oh, it's got eyeballs, or oh, you know, like, you know, those are the things that, you know, it's kind of open in a sense of how food plays a role in finding yourself. It's if you allow it to or not.